And I'm always of the mindset of like, let's show it to the most critical people first, like the people who are diehard book fans, because then you want to make sure that you're servicing the people who are most passionate about it. And Isabella at this point was still working at a restaurant in Brooklyn. Colleen called her and she was like, you gotta come to the screening. She's like, I can't get my shift covered. She's like, get on a plane, come now. And so she like left from the restaurant with like I don't know.
The release of previously sealed material has finally happened, at least from Blake Lively's side of the legal fight. These records are now being used to explain her position and to push back against a request that would have ended the lawsuit through summary judgment. To do this, she submitted hundreds of documents that are now public. Many people expected large portions to be blacked out, but that did not occur. Only basic details like phone numbers and a few names were hidden. Most of the content is visible, detailed, and easy to follow. Within these files, many well-known figures appear by name. Taylor Swift is mentioned repeatedly, as is Ryan Reynolds. There are also private messages where Lively criticizes others or speaks casually in ways that raise eyebrows. These messages include conversations with Colleen Hoover, Jenny Slate, and Swift herself. One set of text involving actor Brandon Slenner stands out because of language that many would consider inappropriate. Lively later claimed those comments were jokes, but the tone has still drawn attention. Another document, described as a professional letter, comes across more like imaginative writing than a formal statement. In that exchange, Lively strongly pushed to receive credit and highlighted a gift she had given to Isabella Ferrer. Across many messages, a pattern appears where Lively and Reynolds seem to offer future roles, recognition, or job possibilities to people in order to gain support for her version of the film. What is surprising is that she appeared friendly with certain individuals, even after later claiming she had serious issues with them. There are also examples of mixed signals. Lively complained about Justin Baldoni to some people, yet sent warm and affectionate messages directly to him at the same time. This contrast makes the situation feel confusing and inconsistent. One legal statement notes that she commented on the looks of actors both before and after making demands related to the project. Some remarks focused directly on physical appearance, which later became a point of dispute when explanations were offered to minimize their meaning. Taylor Swift's involvement shows up multiple times. Lively asked Swift to support a rewritten script and referred to the director in insulting terms. There is disagreement over whether Swift felt pressured or whether she willingly supported Lively's changes. Text messages suggest close coordination, praise, and shared laughter afterward, while official responses deny that any manipulation occurred. Beyond Swift, Lively spoke to other high-profile friends, including Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. In those conversations, she claimed responsibility for rewriting the screenplay and guiding performances, while describing the director in unflattering language. She does not deny making these statements. Instead, she acknowledges them, which suggests her conflict with him was personal and professional, rather than based on misconduct claims. Overall, the documents paint a picture of behind-the-scenes power struggles, shifting loyalties, and aggressive efforts to control the creative direction of the film. The material does not read like a story of someone quietly enduring mistreatment. Instead, it shows someone actively influencing outcomes, rallying famous allies, and speaking bluntly about colleagues while defending her own authority. In late April of 2024, text messages between Blake Lively and Taylor Swift showed them talking about using Swift's music in the movie trailer. Swift wrote that if Justin had been thinking carefully, he would have avoided putting her song in the preview. She said that using her music would give Blake more influence over the project, since she was Blake's supporter and not his. Blake replied by agreeing and mocking the choice, saying it was foolish and that this decision cost him any chance of looking like he had control. The conversation sounded less like casual talk and more like planning how to gain leverage. It also showed that Blake had been pushing hard for Taylor's music from the beginning, not the other way around. Swift even pointed out that her friendship with Blake strengthened Blake's position. That directly clashes with what she said in public, where she claimed she was not involved. This may explain why she has stayed silent and avoided defending Blake or denying anything. Later that summer, another situation surfaced involving Stephanie Jones, a former publicist. Around August 2024, Jones and Blake connected through someone they both knew. Jones claimed she had discovered shocking material on a personal phone and believed Blake should see it. Texts suggest Taylor Swift already knew about this contact and even told Blake that the publicist wanted to share information with her. That raises serious questions about how Taylor became aware of private exchanges so quickly. Blake and her husband jointly control a company called Van Zandt, which does not run outside business activities and appears mainly used for personal financial matters. This company later filed a lawsuit in New York, claiming that unnamed individuals harmed its reputation. Even though Blake knew the people involved, the filing used anonymous defendants. The timing makes it look like the lawsuit was created to legally move sensitive material rather than to resolve a real business dispute. Shortly after, Van Zandt issued a subpoena to Jones's firm asking for documents connected to harassment claims and publicity related to the movie. This was strange because Van Zandt had no role in the film and no contract with that firm. There had also been no communication between them before this demand. Despite that, the request went forward, taking advantage of early discovery rules. It appeared very targeted, as if they already knew exactly what they wanted and where to find it. In early December, Blake and Taylor privately talked about an upcoming newspaper story. Taylor wrote a message suggesting that Justin seemed worried and was acting dramatic, implying he knew something negative was coming. That tone did not sound like fear or concern from someone facing wrongdoing. Instead, it felt mocking and confident. While official responses deny coordination, the quoted messages exist and paint a different picture. Reading these messages gives a very different impression of both women compared to their public images. Their private words suggest strategic thinking, cooperation behind the scenes, and an effort to use influence where possible. For Taylor to later say she felt taken advantage of does not fully match the tone of these conversations. The messages show someone who appeared willing, informed, and engaged in helping Blake move events in a specific direction. She was dishonest with Baldoni on behalf of her friend. She joined in mocking him, took part in harsh comments, and later helped line up a major article with the New York Times that portrayed him in a damaging way. None of this behavior sounds like fear. It does not resemble the actions of someone who believes another person is dangerous or threatening. Instead, it feels like a situation where respect was gone and where they believed they were justified in tearing him down. That is why the connection to bullying keeps coming up. Even without seeing every message yet, the pattern is already clear. More records are still expected, and once the other side files its materials, the picture may become even sharper. Blake likely released her documents first because they present her version in the best possible light. Even so, what is shown does not strongly support her claims. In one key letter connected to producer credit, she directly brought up Taylor and used her influence as proof of her importance. She openly stated that she personally secured Taylor Swift's music for the trailer and marketing campaign. She claimed this choice helped create the biggest opening for a female-led film trailer ever. The tone of that statement sounds proud and strategic. It also shows that Taylor clearly understood how much power her involvement carried, and that her support could shift control toward Blake. This raises a reasonable question. If these people had so much money and influence, why not create something entirely new together? Taylor is extremely wealthy. Blake and Ryan also have major resources. They could have developed their own project without conflict. The likely answer is that the book behind this film was already a massive success. The story had built-in value, and they knew it. That explains why they wanted control instead of starting fresh. In the same letter, she also mentioned Bradley Cooper. She said she wished she had been recognized earlier so she could apply for producer credit right away. She explained that Cooper encouraged her to push for it and allowed her to share his example. According to her, he joined a film as an actor, later took on major production duties, and eventually received producer credits shortly before release. She hoped the same exception would apply to her. After that, she leaned heavily on feminist language. She described her long career, her role as a mother, and her belief that women deserve proper recognition for their labor. She framed the situation as larger than herself, suggesting that denying her credit would harm future women in the industry. While those words sound powerful, critics argue they were used as a shield rather than a reflection of the actual dispute. What stands out is that her friends appeared to have used similar tactics in the past. It creates an impression of a pattern, not an isolated moment. Taylor's role especially feels troubling. She advised Blake on how to use alliances as leverage, helped behind the scenes with legal and media efforts, and spoke about Baldoni in a dismissive way, despite barely knowing him. None of the shared messages focus on safety or misconduct. Instead, they center on control, image, and influence. That contrast is difficult to ignore. Everything shown so far points to one main goal: helping Blake gain influence. Taylor was involved from the very beginning, long before any serious disagreement or legal conflicts became public. That timing matters. It suggests that this was not a reaction to wrongdoing, but part of a plan that started early. Because of that, it makes sense why Taylor has stayed quiet instead of defending Blake openly. Deep down, she may understand that the accusations aimed at Justin don't fully hold up when placed next to the actual behavior shown in the messages. There's a clear double standard that is hard to ignore. A woman was able to joke on set, tell a male coworker to dress a certain way, make comments about putting him on a corner, and frame it as humor or confidence. Those remarks were brushed off as playful. Meanwhile, Justin made a couple of comments about wardrobe that were described as flattering or complimentary, and those words were later treated as unacceptable. When these situations are compared side by side, the imbalance becomes obvious. One side is excused, while the other is condemned. That contrast is deeply upsetting. It creates a feeling that the rules change depending on who is speaking and who holds more power. It does not look like fear or discomfort driving the actions behind the scenes. Instead, it feels calculated, dismissive, and rooted in control. The language used privately does not match the seriousness of the claims made publicly. That disconnect is difficult to sit with. Emotionally, this situation is exhausting. It leaves a heavy feeling that is hard to shake. Seeing how casually people spoke about another person, especially someone they barely knew, makes it worse. The tone of the messages does not reflect concern, protection, or caution. Instead, it sounds confident, mocking, and strategic. That realization alone can make anyone feel uneasy. What makes this even harder is knowing that these aren't even the full conversations. More messages are expected to be released, and if the ones already seen are this troubling, it raises questions about what else might be revealed. Each new detail seems to strip away another layer of the public image that was carefully built. It forces a reevaluation of who was acting honestly and who may have been shaping a narrative for personal benefit. There is also curiosity about Ryan's involvement. His role has not yet been fully explored, and understanding what part he played could change how the situation is viewed as a whole. That discussion is being saved for later, but it feels important, especially given how closely connected all these people are. Right now, the strongest reaction is confusion mixed with disappointment. It's hard to watch powerful figures move so confidently while ordinary standards of fairness seem ignored. The story no longer feels simple or clean. It feels layered, uncomfortable, and unresolved. Seeing everything laid out like this makes it clear why people want answers, transparency, and the full truth before forming final opinions.